Under the blazing summer sun at Buckingham Palace, Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone stood at attention, his scarlet tunic pristine despite the sweltering heat that shimmered off the cobblestones. 8 years of military discipline, honed through blistering summers and freezing winters, had earned him commendations in Afghanistan. Yet nothing prepared him for the moment a soft gasp pierced the tourist chatter. An elderly woman, perhaps in her 70s, clutched her chest, her face ashen as she crumpled toward the ground. Protocol demanded he remain still. Royal guards had stood unmoved through storms and emergencies, their duty to the palace absolute unless it was directly threatened. But Blackstone, beneath the ceremonial bearskin cap, was more than a symbol. He was a man who'd sworn an oath to protect. In a split second, he made his choice. With military precision, he stepped forward, catching the woman before she hit the pavement. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked, his voice steady despite hours of silence. Her pulse fluttered weakly as he lowered her to sit, commanding, "Someone call for medical assistance." His act of compassion, helping her with her heart medication, broke centuries-old protocol, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test his resolve. As the summer heat bore down on Buckingham Palace's courtyard, Judge Lawrence Montgomery emerged from the crowd, his Italian leather shoes clicking with impatient authority against the cobblestones. His tailored suit and gold cufflinks gleamed, a signet ring bearing the Royal Courts of Justice crest, marking him as a Crown Court judge. Having just witnessed Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone break protocol to save an elderly woman, Montgomery's cold gray eyes narrowed with a prosecutor's assessment. Ignoring the woman's plight, he saw only a guard abandoning his post, a breach of the sacred discipline he believed defined Britain's heritage. "Your singular responsibility is to maintain your post, not to play paramedic," he barked, his voice carrying the commanding projection of a courtroom veteran. When Blackstone remained silent, Montgomery's irritation flared. He fabricated laws on the spot, citing non-existent Section 12 of the Military Conduct Code and a Parliamentary Protection of Ceremonial Guards Act of 1998, threatening a fine of £10,000 and dishonorable discharge. His accusations escalated with theatrical flair. He claimed to call the Minister of Defense, staging a fake conversation to assert his influence, declaring, "The minister agrees, immediate suspension." Montgomery's overreach didn't stop there. He accused Blackstone of compromising palace security, suggesting 6 months' detention, and even jabbed a finger into the guard's scarlet tunic, a physical act of intimidation. To the growing crowd, his performance was street theater, but his tone dripped with menace. "By tomorrow, your career could end." Tourists and veterans alike watched in discomfort, as Montgomery, unchecked by Blackstone's stoic silence, piled on hollow threats, obstruction of justice, contempt, and forfeiture of pension benefits, each claim more absurd than the last. In his arrogance, Montgomery believed his judicial title granted him unchecked power, unaware he was provoking a man whose legal mind would soon unravel his facade of authority. The tension outside Buckingham Palace reached a boiling point as Judge Lawrence Montgomery, flushed with self-assured fury, jabbed his manicured finger into Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone's scarlet tunic, a physical breach that shattered the invisible boundary of respect. The crowd gasped, sensing the escalation, while two veterans in the onlookers straightened, their military instincts on alert. For hours, Blackstone had maintained the stoic silence demanded of a royal guard, his posture perfect under the summer sun, enduring Montgomery's barrage of fabricated laws and threats, fines, detention, even career-ending discharge. But that single touch ignited a shift. With sniper-like precision, Blackstone's eyes locked onto Montgomery's, and his voice sliced through the silence. "Sir, I must respectfully ask you to remove your hand from my uniform." The transformation was electric. Where a ceremonial figure had stood, now emerged a man radiating controlled power. Montgomery blinked, momentarily thrown, but tried to recover, sneering, "So you've decided to speak? Too late. The charges are filed." Blackstone's response was a calm thunderclap. "No, sir, they have not." Stepping back to dislodge Montgomery's finger, he revealed his hidden expertise. "There are no sections 12, 23, or 47 in any Royal Protection Statute. No Parliamentary Protection of Ceremonial Guards Act exists, and you have neither the authority to issue fines nor recommend military discharges." The crowd's collective breath caught as Blackstone continued, his tone measured but unyielding. "Before joining the Queen's Guard, I completed my law degree at Oxford with first-class honors, specializing in constitutional and military law. I am intimately familiar with the regulations governing my position." Montgomery's face drained of color, his judicial bravado crumbling as he realized he'd underestimated the Guard. What he'd seen as a powerless soldier was, in fact, a legal mind poised to dismantle his every false claim with devastating precision. Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone, standing resolute outside Buckingham Palace, unleashed a legal counterattack that left Judge Lawrence Montgomery reeling under the weight of his own misconduct. Having revealed his Oxford law degree, Blackstone methodically dismantled the judge's fabricated accusations with surgical precision. Royal Guard Protocol Section 5, Paragraph 3 explicitly permits ceremonial guards to break formation in cases of immediate threat to public safety or health, he stated, his voice steady, referencing the medical emergency that prompted his actions. "The emergency I responded to falls squarely within those parameters." Montgomery's face paled as Blackstone pressed on, exposing the judge's overreach. "The physical contact you initiated constitutes battery against a serving member of Her Majesty's Armed Forces, punishable by up to 2 years' imprisonment under the Military Personnel Protection Act of 2004, a statute that actually exists." The crowd fell silent, hanging on every word as Blackstone continued. "Your claim to have spoken with the Minister of Defense, a fabricated conversation, constitutes misconduct in public office, a common law offense carrying a maximum sentence of life imprisonment." He didn't stop there, citing Montgomery's violation of judicial conduct regulations. "Your attempt to issue fabricated citations while acting in your judicial capacity breaches Principle 3, integrity, propriety, and impartiality." Veterans in the crowd nodded in approval, their weathered faces reflecting respect for Blackstone's legal acumen. He further highlighted Montgomery's past, noting, "Your handling of the Westfield case last year raised questions about judicial temperament. This incident, witnessed by dozens and recorded on security cameras, provides undeniable evidence of misconduct." With each precise citation, Blackstone turned the tables, transforming Montgomery's intimidation into a public exposure of his abuse of power. What began as a judge's attempt to assert dominance became a lesson in accountability, as Blackstone's legal brilliance revealed the depth of Montgomery's transgressions, leaving him defenseless against the truth. As Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone stood his ground outside Buckingham Palace, his legal counterattack against Judge Lawrence Montgomery gained formidable support, amplifying the judge's unraveling. 2 retired military officers, Lieutenant Colonel James Whitmore and Major Richard Harrove, stepped forward, their medal-adorned jackets and military bearing commanding respect amidst the summer heat. Whitmore, with 30 years of service, including 5 as a military judge, declared, "I'll provide my own witness statement regarding this incident," his voice carrying the weight of decades in military justice. Harrove, with 28 years of service, added, "I caught most of your invented statutes on my phone recording. Judge Montgomery, remarkable performance." Their presence wasn't just symbolic. It was a direct challenge to Montgomery's fabricated authority as they flanked Blackstone, their weathered faces set in grim determination. The crowd, already stunned by Blackstone's legal prowess, grew even more invested as a woman stepped forward, her expression resolute. "I have the entire incident on video," she confirmed, including all the made-up laws and the fake phone call to the minister. Her recording, alongside palace security footage and the veterans' testimonies, formed an undeniable web of evidence against Montgomery. Tourists who had lingered after the medical emergency now watched with rapt attention, their discomfort with Montgomery's earlier aggression turning to support for Blackstone. The veterans' military backgrounds lent credibility to Blackstone's defense, validating his adherence to protocol during the emergency and exposing Montgomery's misconduct as an abuse of power. Whitmore's pointed remark, "Fabricating legal statutes while acting in an official capacity isn't a misunderstanding. It's misconduct in public office," echoed through the crowd, while Harrove's recording ensured Montgomery's hollow threats were preserved for scrutiny. This collective support transformed the confrontation from a lone guard stand into a public reckoning, leaving Montgomery defenseless against the mounting evidence and witnesses who refused to let his overreach go unchallenged. The summer air outside Buckingham Palace grew heavy with tension as Judge Lawrence Montgomery's facade of authority crumbled under the weight of Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone's legal counterattack and the mounting support from witnesses. Montgomery, who had moments ago strutted with the confidence of a Crown Court judge, now stood ashen-faced, his tailored suit and gold cufflinks a hollow contrast to his diminished presence. Blackstone's precise dismantling of his fabricated laws, non-existent statutes like Section 12 and a Parliamentary Protection Act of 1998, coupled with accusations of battery and misconduct in public office, left Montgomery reeling. The veterans Lieutenant Colonel James Whitmore and Major Richard Harrove had bolstered Blackstone's case with their witness statements and recordings, while a tourist's video captured Montgomery's fake phone call to the Minister of Defense, sealing his exposure. The crowd, once drawn by Montgomery's theatrical threats of a £10,000 fine and dishonorable discharge, now watched in silence, their discomfort turning to judgment as the judge's lies unraveled. Montgomery's earlier swagger, his finger jabbing Blackstone's scarlet tunic, his voice booming with false authority, dissolved into stammered excuses. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding," he managed, his voice stripped of its commanding tone, his hand nervously adjusting his tie in a gesture now devoid of power. "I was merely concerned about protocol." But Whitmore cut through the deflection. "Fabricating statutes while acting in an official capacity isn't a misunderstanding, it's misconduct." Harrove added, "Interesting interpretation of not acting officially while citing fake laws and touching a guard's uniform." Montgomery's shoulders slumped as he realized escape was impossible. The evidence, witnesses, recordings, and security footage was airtight. "I may have overstepped," he conceded, each word a painful admission, a momentary lapse in judgment. Swallowing hard, he turned to Blackstone, who stood in perfect ceremonial stance, and muttered, "I realize now I was misinformed about certain protocols. My behavior was inappropriate. I apologize unreservedly." The apology, though lacking sincerity, was a necessity, a public humiliation witnessed by the crowd that had formed a gauntlet of judgment as he retreated. Blackstone, never breaking his forward gaze, responded with finality. "Your apology is noted, sir. I suggest reviewing the Judicial Code of Conduct and actual statutes governing military personnel. Good day." Montgomery's retreat through the dispersing tourists was a walk of shame, his authority shattered, while Blackstone's honor stood taller than ever. As the confrontation outside Buckingham Palace concluded, Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone's triumph over Judge Lawrence Montgomery left a lasting echo far beyond the cobblestones, offering profound lessons on integrity and the perils of misjudgment. Blackstone, A royal guard who broke protocol to save an elderly woman, faced Montgomery's wrath. Fabricated laws, a £10,000 fine, and threats of dishonorable discharge, only to reveal his Oxford law degree and dismantle the judge's lies with legal precision. His integrity shone through not just in his compassionate act, but in his unwavering commitment to truth, refusing to bow to intimidation even as Montgomery's finger jabbed his scarlet tunic. The judge, blinded by arrogance, had judged Blackstone by his uniform, assuming he was a mere soldier incapable of resistance. This misjudgment cost Montgomery dearly. His fake statutes and staged phone call to the Minister of Defense were exposed by Blackstone, veterans, and a tourist's recording, leading to a public apology and a shattered reputation. The story underscores a timeless truth: appearances deceive. Blackstone's hidden legal brilliance, honed at Oxford and sharpened by military discipline, proved that depth of character often lies beneath the surface, a lesson for anyone quick to assume. Montgomery's downfall, witnessed by a crowd that turned from spectators to judges of his misconduct, highlights the dangers of abusing authority through intimidation and falsehoods. True respect, as the narrator reflects, isn't demanded through hollow threats, but earned through principled action, as Blackstone demonstrated by defending both his actions and the legal principles Montgomery claimed to uphold. The veterans' support, Lieutenant Colonel Whitmore and Major Harrove, further emphasized the value of standing for justice, their military honor aligning with Blackstone's courage. For viewers, the story is a call to examine our own biases. How often do we judge others by their roles, soldier, teacher, retiree, without seeing their true capabilities? And how often do we let loud, confident voices go unchallenged, even when their claims ring false? Blackstone's response, a defense of integrity over intimidation, inspires us to act with courage and knowledge, to question authority when it oversteps, and to value the unseen strengths in those around us. In a world quick to judge, this tale reminds us that true honor lies in doing what's right, no matter the cost, and that justice prevails when we dare to speak the truth. As the dust settled outside Buckingham Palace, with Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone resuming his post and Judge Lawrence Montgomery retreating in disgrace, the narrator turned the story into a moment of connection for viewers worldwide. The tale of Blackstone's legal brilliance, unmasking Montgomery's fabricated laws, and securing an apology after saving a woman's life, became a springboard for deeper reflection. What would you do if you witnessed someone abusing their authority, intimidating others with fabricated laws and hollow threats? The narrator asked, inviting the audience to ponder their own encounters with injustice. The call to action was clear. If this story made you think about the importance of standing up for what's right, even when facing intimidation, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful Royal Guard stories. The engagement deepened with a promise. We've got another story tomorrow at this same time. Press the bell icon to never miss an upload. Viewers were urged to share their experiences. Have you ever encountered someone who tried to intimidate others with false authority? How did you respond? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. This wasn't just a passive viewing experience. It was a conversation, encouraging reflection on personal integrity and courage. The narrator's closing question: how many times have we judged others based solely on their appearance or position, failing to recognize their depth of character? Mirrored Blackstone's journey, challenging viewers to rethink assumptions, much like Montgomery's misjudgment of the Guard. By asking, how often do we allow those who speak loudly with confidence to go unchallenged, even when their claims don't add up? The story became a rallying cry for justice and truth. The invitation to engage turned Blackstone's victory into a shared lesson, inspiring viewers to reflect, connect, and act with the same principled resolve. For those of us over 50, the story of Lieutenant Ivan Blackstone and Judge Lawrence Montgomery offers wisdom we can carry into our daily lives. When Blackstone broke protocol to save a woman at Buckingham Palace, only to face Montgomery's false accusations, he showed that doing what's right often means standing firm, even against powerful opposition. As seniors, we've seen our share of bullies, whether in the workplace or community, who misuse authority, much like Montgomery with his made-up laws. Blackstone's courage, backed by his Oxford Law degree, teaches us to trust our knowledge and experience, speaking up when we know something's wrong, whether it's at a town meeting or with family. His story also warns against judging too quickly. Montgomery saw a guard, not a lawyer, just as we might overlook the wisdom in a quiet neighbor or grandchild. Finally, Blackstone's compassion reminds us to prioritize humanity over rigid rules. Helping a struggling friend or stranger, even if it's inconvenient, is a legacy worth leaving. Let's live with integrity, challenge unfairness, and look deeper, ensuring our years of experience shine as brightly as Blackstone's scarlet tunic.